So we'll start with topic one, but before starting the topic, just overview of the syllabus. So the subject code, those who want the grades in alphabetical, they will select 0620. So this is a code for your chemistry 0620 if you need your result in alphabets. And there are two possibilities. You can select a core. If you select a core, then you will select paper 1, paper 3, or either paper 5 and 6. But if you select a core, the maximum grade you can get is C, from C to G. So that's why you will not select a core. What you will select or study, you will study extended part. So the extended part, for this extended part, you will select a combination of a paper 2, 4 and either 5 or 6. So we will select 6 here. And these candidates are eligible from A star to G. So when you will appear for extended one. Those who want the results in numeral, like example, you need your result in a numeral numbers, then your code will be 0971. And same thing for 0971, if you select a core, you will appear for paper 1, paper 3 and either paper 5 or 6. But if you select the extended one, then you will select 2, 4 and 6 and the maximum grade is 9 to minimum 1. So simply there are two codes. The first one is 0620 and 0971. So core and extended, these are the two parts of the syllabus. The syllabus is divided into core and extended part. So you will select the extended one. So the maximum grade in extended you can have A star, in alphabetical and in numeral you can have maximum 9. So you will not study anything about core. So in short, the combination which you will select, that is paper 2, paper 4 and paper 6. 2, 4 and 6. So the candidate who are taking the extended one, they will select paper 2. Paper 2 is multiple choice question. Duration for this exam is 45 minutes. And the total marks for this exam, 40 marks. Paper 4, duration for this exam is 1 hour and 15 minutes and total marks 80. And for paper 6, duration for this exam is 1 hour and the total marks are 40. So you will select paper 2, paper 4 and paper 6. Leave about core, you don't, because you're not studying core, so you don't have to bother about anything related to core. The syllabus which you will study, that is the extended part. Is it clear? The course overview, like the selection of the paper, you will select paper 2, paper 4 and paper 6 with a code. If you want numeral, then it will be 0971. If you want result in alphabetical, then it will be 0620. Any question or a doubt related to this part? Any query? You can use option raise hand to ask any question or a doubt, or you can use a chat. So this is a content overview. Abdullah, you can select only paper 2, 4 and 6, not the other one. So you just have to select paper 2, paper 4 and paper 6. The content overview means the chapter which will cover this whole syllabus. So what you have to study, the candidates study the following topic. The first one, the particulate nature of the matter. The second one is experimental techniques, atoms, elements and compound, stoichiometry, that's related to moles, electricity and chemistry, chemical energetics, chemical reactions, acid, base and salt, the periodic table, metals, air and water, sulfur, carbonate, and the last one is organic chemistry. We will follow the syllabus in sequence. We'll start our first topic, which is about the particulate nature of the matter. During the session, you don't have to copy anything. If I say a particular question or example, then you will copy. Otherwise, you don't have to copy. At the end of the session, I will share this recording with the presentation so you can copy the things or you can print out from that part. So we'll start our first topic, which is about the particulate nature of the matter. And in this particulate nature of the matter, what you see here, the first thing, state the distinguishing properties of solid, liquid and gas. So these are the subject or the course objectives, that what you should understand. You should be able to distinguish the properties of the solids, the properties of the liquid and the properties of gases. So when we start the concept of the matter, so when we explain the concept of the matter, what is the meaning or definition of the matter? Matter means anything which has mass and occupy space. So anything which is having a mass and it occupy the space, what we call that? We call that as a matter. And the matter, three states are there. What are the three states of the matter? We have solid, liquid and gas. So the first objective of the syllabus, that you should be able to explain the properties of solid, liquid and gas. So how you can explain the properties of solid, liquid and gas? The first one, the properties of the solid, they have a definite shape and volume. So when you have a solid, it will have a regular or a definite shape, as well as it will occupy the fixed space. And solids are normally hard and rigid. What is the meaning of hard and rigid? Hardness is a surface phenomena. It means it is difficult to make a dent on the surface of a solid. And rigid means you need a greater amount of force to change the shape. So when you need a greater amount of force to change the shape of a substance, that substance is known as rigid. And to change the shape, you need a large force is required. Like example, if I want to change the shape of this solid, I have to apply greater force or a large force so that I can change the shape of this solid. And they have high density. What is the meaning of high density? The term density means number of the particles present in a unit volume. So how many particles are there in a unit space? That is refers to density. So when we take a specific volume, we will find many particles are there in that specific region or a volume or space. That's why we call solids have high density. And they are incompressible. Why the solids are incompressible? Because already the particles are so close to each other that we cannot further make them closer, or we cannot reduce their size. That's why they are incompressible. And in a solid, what we find that close packing, the term close packing means the particles are very close to each other. We find they occupy the minimum space, small space. They have a regular pattern, regular arrangement. Like example here, this is showing a lattice. A regular arrangement of a particle is known as lattice. So you can see here, first there's a green particle, then there's a brown, then green, then brown, then green, then brown, then green, brown, and then green. So there's a regular arrangement of the particles, regular patterns of the particle. And these particles, they vibrate about a fixed position. At a specific position they vibrate. Like example here, the green particle, what you see is not moving from one place to another, but it is only vibrating about the fixed position as it is visible in this picture. And they are not free to move. Like example, if this particle, if I name this particle as A, so this particle A cannot move to other side, so they do not move freely. Is it clear, the concept of a solid? Any question? Feel free to ask your doubts or a question. You can use the chat, or you can use your mic to ask your doubts or a question. Is it clear to everyone? Then moving on to the next part, because the objective is we should be able to distinguishing the properties of solid, liquid, and gas. So the second one, the properties of the liquid. They have a definite volume, but they don't have a definite shape. So basically they take the shape of the container. For example, if you have two containers and you have 10 cm cube of water, so when you transfer that 10 cm cube of water to container A or to container B, the same 10 cm cube will take the shape of the container, but the total volume will remain as 10. So they have definite volume, but they don't have definite shape. Relatively, they have high density compared to that of gas. The particles, compared to that of a gas, they are closer to each other, and it is not compressible as well. It's or difficult to compress, because it's still the particle does not have too much space. There is a space, but very small space is available, so not compressible, because already the particles are closer. But these particles can move around each other. Like example, if you have particle A, this particle A can move anywhere within the region as it is clearly visible. Like if you have this particle, the particles are not exactly vibrating at fixed position, but they are able to move from one place to another. And when we compare the third state, that is the gaseous state, so what you see in the gas, it does not have any fixed volume or a shape. It takes the shape of a container, as well as it occupies the space available. It has very low density, and it is compressible because the particles, they have greater distance between them, so it is easy to compress. So particles in a gases are very far apart. They travel normally at a high speed. They are moving randomly. When we say they are moving randomly, it means there is no particular direction. Like if this was a particle, this particle can change its direction many times. So there is no specific direction in which this particle is moving. And there is a negligible force of attraction between the particles, or the force between the particles is very weak. So this is another view of the particles of gas, liquid and solid. In a gas, you can see the particles are moving randomly, they're continuously changing the direction, whereas in liquid, the particles can move around each other, and in solid, the particle can vibrate about a fixed position. Then the second objective of this, you should be able to, this top side on the slide, you will find the syllabus objective. This is what is there in the syllabus. So according to syllabus, you should be able to describe the structure of solids, liquids and gases in terms of particle separation, arrangement and types of motion. So when we compare solid, structure of a solid, the particles are held together by a relatively strong force. When we compare liquid, the particles have a weak force, so they are further apart. And when we compare the gas, the particles are far apart from each other. And when we compare the arrangement and type of motion, so in solid, the particle do not have free movement. They can vibrate about the fixed position, wherein in liquids, the particle when move around each other, and in gases, the particles are very spread out and they can move randomly. So you should be able to recognize the solid, liquid and gas in terms of structure. You should be able to explain the structure of solid, liquid and gas in terms of particle separation, arrangement and types of motion. So when we say particle separation, so in solid, the particles are very close to each other. The particles are not very close, but they can move around each other. And in gases, the particles are far away from each other. In solid arrangement, it's a regular arrangement. Liquid, no regular arrangement. Gases, no regular arrangement. In solid, the particles can vibrate. In liquids, particles can vibrate as well as move around each other or move past each other. And in gases, the particles move randomly at high speed. Is it clear? Any doubt in this objective? Any question or a doubt? This is the first topic, which is a basic topic, and most of the things about matters, the properties of solid, liquid, and gas, you have studied in class 8 or class 7 as well. Then the objective describe the change in state in terms of melting, boiling, evaporation, freezing, condensation, and sublimation. So what we call the change in state, like example, if we have a solid and a solid is converting into liquid. So when a solid is converting into liquid, what we call this change state, we call that as melting. If a liquid is changing into gas, we call that as boiling or evaporation. There is a difference between a boiling and evaporation. We will discuss that difference as well. But first, we are only discussing the changes in the state. So when a liquid is changing into gas, what we can call that as a boiling, or we can also call that as evaporation. When a gas is converting into liquid, we call that as condensation. When a liquid is converting into solid, we can call that as solidification, or we can also say that freezing. And when a solid directly convert into gas, we call sublimation, or a gases directly convert into solid, deposition, or you can also say that as solidification, sublimation. that is acceptable. So both changes, when a solid changed to gas or a gas changed back to solid, we call that as sublimation. Then you should be able to explain the changes of state in matter in terms of kinetic theory. What is kinetic theory? There are some points related to kinetic theory. What is basically a kinetic theory? So the kinetic theory explains the idea about the matter and the states of the matter. What it state? It state all the matter is made up of tiny moving particles invisible to the naked eye. You cannot see with your eye. Different substances have different particles such as atoms, molecules, or ions. So everything is made up of particles, and these particles, tiny particles, can be termed as atom, molecules, or ions. What is the difference between atom and molecule or the ion? So the term atom means it's a particle which contain further subatomic particle. So example, we have a nucleus here. This is a structure, basic structure of the atom. We have a nucleus. Inside the nucleus, what we have a particle such as neutrons and protons. And around the nucleus, we have a particle known as electron. So basically, what is atom? Atom contain equal number of proton and neutron, proton and electrons. So when we have equal number of protons and electrons, what we call that? We call that as atom. Like example, if I was having 2 protons and I have 2 electrons. So when we have 2 protons and 2 protons and 2 electrons in a particle, what we call that particle? We call that as atom. But what about the molecule? The term molecule means group of atoms. So when 2 or more atoms join together, combine together, what we call that as molecule. Like this is one atom, and this joined with another. So what we call that as a molecule. And the simple definition of an atom is a substance which cannot be broken down chemically. That's also a definition for atom. And what about the ions? The term ions means it contains different number of protons and electrons. So if we have different number of proton and electron, we call that as an ion. So here is a nucleus. A neutron is there. Like example, this contains 2 protons and it only contains 1 electron. So this atom does not have equal number of proton and electron. So if it does not have equal number of proton and electron, we call that as an ion. And an ion can be a positive ion or it can be a negative. A positive ion contains more protons and a negative ion contain more electrons. So whenever you have a matter may have atoms, a matter may have molecules, or a matter may have ions. If it is having equal number of proton and electron, we call that it is having atoms. If it is having a group of atoms joined together, combined together, we call it is having, this matter is made up of molecules. And if there are particles but different number of protons and electrons, we call that this matter is consist of ions. So example, say this is a matter. A matter can be a solid, liquid, or gas, because there are three states, and this matter is having particles. So example, it contains one proton, one electron, one proton, one electron, and one proton, one electron. So my question is this matter made up of atoms, molecule, or ion? You can use the chat to state the answer. What this matter consists of or made up of? So this matter is made up of atoms, molecules, or ions. It contains one, each atom contains one proton and one electron. So basically, this matter is consist of atoms. Why not molecule or ions? Because to be a molecule, it should be a group of atoms, means they should join together. So when it was if it was a molecule, then how it should appear? It should appear like this, that atoms join together. And in a molecule we may have two atoms, we may have three atoms, it can be different number, but they should join together. So when they're joined together, in that case that matter is made up of molecules. And if it was having different number of the particles, like example, there are two protons, one electron, two protons, one electron. So what will be the charge here on this? Because it contains more proton and less electron, so the charge will be positive. So if the matter consists of atoms which are having different number of protons and electron, then what we call that matter consists of ions. So a matter can be made up of atoms, it can be made up of molecules, or it can be comprises of ions. Is it clear? Any doubt? Any question? The concept of atoms, molecules, and ions. So first thing, according to the kinetic particle theory, it states that all matters are made up of tiny particles, and what we call these particles, These particles can be atoms, it can be molecules, or it can be ions. And these particles are moving all the time. The high temperature, the particle will move faster. So if we increase the temperature, the particles will move much faster. So example, you have say a piece of iron, identical, two pieces of iron, identical, same type, but they are at different temperatures. The first one is at 20 degrees and the second one is at 50 degrees centigrade. Which sample the particles will move faster? In which sample the particles are moving faster? At 20 or at 50? So at 50 or B, the particles are moving faster. So it means the temperature and the speed or the motion of the particle are directly proportional. So if you increase the temperature, it will increase the speed of the particles. Higher temperature, the particle will move faster. Lower temperature, the particle will move slower. So when we supply heat energy, the particle will move much faster as compared to when we cool down. Then the heavier particles will move slower compared to the lighter particle at same temperature. So when you compare the particle, their masses, example, if the temperature was same, then the particle will move with the same speed. By example, here at 20 degrees and 50, because the temperatures are different, the particles are moving at different speed. But if you keep the temperature same, then the particle will move with the same speed if the identical particles are there. But what will happen if you have two different materials with different mass of the particles? Material A consists of heavy particles and material B consists of lighter particles. If you have any question, you can use a mic, or when you're asking a question in a chat, it's better everyone, it should be visible to everyone so they also understand from your question. So example, we have two different methods. Here the particle example, particle size is, particle mass is 30. And the other one, the particle mass is only 5. And we are supplying the heat energy. We are heating both of them. Which one you think the particle will move faster? Lighter or the heavy particles? So which material you think the particle will move faster? The lighter particles, because they have less mass, so they can move easily. So it will move faster. So lighter particles move faster as compared to that of heavy particles. So that is the third point of the kinetic molecular theory or kinetic theory of the matter, that it is stated that the heavy particles will move slower as compared to lighter particle at a given temperature. Is it clear? The kinetic particle theory? Any doubt till now? Then how we can find the mass of the particle? Like how you will know which particle is heavy and which particle is lighter. So for that purpose, like example, if I say I have two gases, carbon dioxide CO2 and I have ammonia NH3. And the question is which particles will move faster at a given temperature. So how you can work out, for this purpose you should know the mass in exam, because at the in the exam you will have the periodic table, so you can work out the mass from the periodic table. Right now this is a lecture 1, so I am giving you the masses. Like if I say the mass of the carbon is 1 and mass of oxygen is 16 and mass of nitrogen is 14 and mass of hydrogen is 1. So how I can work out the mass of carbon dioxide? So carbon dioxide means it contains one carbon. So mass of a carbon is 12. So that is 12 plus mass of oxygen is 16. So that is 16. But how many oxygen are there? 2. So this will be multiplied by 2. So 16 multiplied by 2, that's 32. And 32 plus 12, that is equals to 44. So mass of carbon dioxide is 44. And what about the mass of ammonia? Nitrogen. Nitrogen is 14 plus hydrogen. Mass of hydrogen is 1. And how many hydrogen are there? 3. So that is multiplied by 3. So 14 plus 3, that is equals to 17. So which is lighter, ammonia or carbon dioxide? Which gas is lighter, ammonia or carbon dioxide? So ammonia is lighter. So lighter gases, it will move faster, and the heavy gas, it will move slower. Is it clear how I work out the masses for each compound? That carbon dioxide, the formula for carbon dioxide is CO2, and we know the mass of carbon, oxygen, carbon is 12, oxygen 16 times 2, so 32 plus 12, that's equal to 44. And nitrogen is 14 plus hydrogen is 1 multiplied by 3, that's equal to 13. So 14 plus 4, sorry, that's equal to 3. So 14 plus 3, that's equal to 17. So 17, it's a lighter one. The mass will be given. You will have the periodic table. I will show how you will use the periodic table to get the mass as well. The session will end less than a minute, so I'll share another link with you and continue the discussion. So I'm ending the session now and share another link.